those that are far gone from us, but their impact and maybe some of the lessons we have to learn about such people that once lived. Because we all die, but what remains our legacy?
Well, thank you so much, Chiravo, and good morning to all our viewers once again, as I here before with Ruben in sports. It's another lovely day. It's another lovely morning, yes, and well, it's just a good feeling to be here. However, I just talked about this because it's a day that I also got here. You know, I was born yesterday with my mother. I and my mother were born yesterday, and the Chavazing of Busoga. So yesterday is a day that is called All Saints Day. It's got its history, of course, which history stems from the church, the Catholic Church. Now, before yesterday was 31st of October, and it's called a Halloween Day. Now, Halloween is actually the opposite of yesterday. Halloween Day, then of course you come to yesterday, which was All Saints Day, then today is All Souls Day. Yes, of course today is a day that the church remembers, and you know, not just remembering. I don't want to teach that doctrine. I don't want to teach what they teach, but I know that this day is a day that they remember their lost ones, their dead ones, and of course, just remember them, pray for their souls, and I think that's what they do. So that's why this day is actually called this day. Now, how serious is this day, for example? I'll tell you one thing. So many years ago, and I think 60 years ago today, 60 or 70 years, it should be about 70 years. It's actually 70 years, not 60 years, 70 years. Now, 70 years ago, Dr. Joseph Serada, the presiding apostle of the born-again church, or the born-again faith, his mother and father, who by the grace of God are still alive today, Salongo and Nalongo, Emmanuel and Immaculate Musigire, they're both alive today. They were set to get married on the 31st of October in 1961. Then the church told them, you can't have your wedding on that day. Then they said, okay, we could have the day, we could postpone the wedding to the following day. Then they said, you still can't have your wedding on the 1st of October, 1st of November, because it's All Saints Day. Nobody will be here on a Saints Day to actually marry you. Then they told them, and you even can't have it on the 2nd of November, because 2nd November is also a day called All Souls Day. So you can't have your wedding on that day. So they settled for 3rd November. So tomorrow, 3rd November, Dr. Sarada's parents, dad and mom, who are both alive today, will be celebrating 70 years anniversary in marriage.
Well, we just wish them that happy
yes, exactly. And so to just let you know that these are days that those who understand them and those who know what they mean to them really celebrate them, that you can't cross their path when they say we are celebrating this day.
And for us at such a time, I think we should remember the lives that have succumbed to COVID-19, and also how best we can prevent ourselves from contracting this disease. And one of the best ways of fighting death due to COVID-19 is vaccination. So as we think about this particular day, its relevance and meaning, it is a call upon you, whoever is still alive, and you've not gotten your vaccination, to rush to the nearest point and have yourself vaccinated. And this brings me to the topic of today, where we are going to be looking at the reopening of schools, more so tertiary and universities that opened, that was on the 1st. Jagenda, there was so much craving for us to have education institutions opened. But like the president has always talked about, yes, we cannot compromise education vis-a-vis life. We cannot compromise the economy because of life. Life is more precious. The biggest question that comes to my mind is this: was it safe reopening? Or was it reopening because many countries are doing so? We've always been talking about Kenya, they're studying, this country they're studying, benchmarking, bring examples here and there. Was it a safe reopening in your opinion?
November 2021 is not the same as November 2020. by November 2020, we had studied and had learned and known some things. And of course, if you remember at that time, we had also partially opened institutions of learning. Schools were opening. We're getting our children ready to do their final exams and many of these things. Talk about safe reopening. I don't want to speak like a scientist or like a specialist that it was safe opening, but the president said because of the trends, you know, we could tell because of the trends, because of the infection rates, he said now that we are opening slowly and steadily, by November 1st, institutions of higher education, universities and etc. will open, and they set some conditions for that reopening. Getting vaccinated, especially for the teachers, the teaching and the non-teaching staff, and everybody who is 18 years and above. Now literally that qualifies for university students to go get the jab of vaccinated. Now, by the grace of God, of course, we now even see statistics coming from the Ministry of Health that there are particular days that we do not record a single death of COVID-19, which was not the case previously, where we saw the numbers of infections rising and, of course, a death also rising. Now that we are where we are today, the President spoke to us a few days ago and he assured us and said, whether everybody is vaccinated or not, January. Yes, we need to reopen the economy. For the past 2 years, for the so many, he actually counted 19 months. We've struggled and staggered with the thing. It has affected, disrupted, and caused a lot of issues to all of us, you know, in a way. Now, talking about education, yes, I also saw it, I think, trending that it's only in Uganda that schools have closed for, did they say 70 weeks, 70 plus weeks, unprecedented. Now this is there. So we've learned. And two, yes, we accept that the same people that we're pushing to go back to class are the same people who are in the marketplace, they're the same people who are in taxis, they're the same people who are in places of work, they're the same people who are everywhere. So how do they manage themselves where they are, that they can manage themselves when they get back to lecture rooms or classrooms or schools in a way? We saw the problem previously when children went back to school, they contracted COVID-19 and the schools feared to actually reveal this. So when the president said, close the schools and go back home, then we again just saw a problem coming home from schools to homes. I'm not saying this is what will happen, but yet again, now that we're getting vaccinated, we're learning how to live with this thing, we're building immunity, herd immunity, so we're trying to see how to really manage it. But now when it comes back to the institutions, yes, what you need to look at is you're going to see staggered numbers of universities. It's not going to be like it used to be. There will be lots of issues.
Actually, when we look at Makerere University, it's not going, they have come out clearly that you're not going to have everybody and Chambo go back. They will have the first years, they'll have, I think, the finalists, those doing courses that require so much of practical or presence.
And face-to-face?
Yeah, that is most of medicine, veterinary, and a bit of engineering. The rest are going to be studying more so online, which in some universities has always been. But also they point out an issue of, yes, we've reopened, we have the SOPs in place, and this time now there's also an addition of Terra Arat, given the bombs that we had here and there, the two we had, the Swift coaches, and of course the Koma and Boga incident. But one thing that comes out clear this time is the cost and the methodology of teaching. We know that the word now learning must happen anywhere at any time. And many of these universities and students are going to be using the internet. And this has been a very big challenge. How best can we maneuver following the fact that universities are telecommunication companies, they're own service providers in terms of internet. But these are students. One student will tell you that if I'm to attend maybe one lecture, an hour, could take me maybe about 5,000. So if I'm going to attend 3 of them, that may take me about maybe 25,000 on daily, much as parents are also staggering, making ends meet here and there to keep them in school.
It's challenging both ways, to the students and the parents, and also the universities, of course. You realize that there are universities where students have to travel from up country to come and domicile in hotels, not hotels, but hostels. Yes. And so you need to look at that also, that one Chirabo moves from, say, Padel. He comes and he's in one of these universities in Kampala, and he stays in a hostel. Now, you pay school fees, which is $1 million plus in terms of school fees. Then you also pay another maybe 500,000 shillings for hostel fees somewhere. Then you also need to manage yourself to commute every other time from the hostel to the university campus and back, and you feed yourself, and still even need internet, because you can't say, because I am attending university, so I'm exempted from using internet. You will also, of course, need internet to do the other things, to research, self-study, X, Y, and Z. So there are those issues that we need to look to. Now, specifically now, there are also universities that are telling their students, well, we maybe reduce the time for the lectures, because remember, curfew is still with us, even when the universities are operational, but curfew is still with us. And now this is also a very good excuse to the students and maybe the lecturers to say, our evening classes could go up until maybe 9 o'clock. We could have lectures from 5 to 9. Now, we can't have lectures from 5 to 9 because we will not stay here during a few hours teaching you. So what we do, let's maybe pull the time downwards and say we'll start at 4 o'clock and push it up to maybe 7 or 6 o'clock. And say maybe 6:30. We do a lecture for 2.5 hours or 2 hours, 4 to 6, release you, make sure that you run. Because they will tell you, some of us do not drive our own cars. Some of us use public means, and so after 6 o'clock, after 7 o'clock, it's hard to ride on a boda. It's hard to find a taxi or all the things. So we need to find ourselves, we need to find a way back home. Now these are all challenges that we all need to look into on the side of the universities, but also on the side of the students. Now the student wants to learn, they want to acquire knowledge, they want to acquire this transcript. Now the lecturers the other side also want to teach, because they want to get some money, they want to get these to do what they're doing, but the university also needs to recoup from their investment. So these are challenges that we need to see how to balance. Now, online teaching or online studies have their own challenges, but we'll find it as the other way to go. We will find it the other way, because if I am not driving from Padel, if I'm not picking a bus from Padel to come to stay in a hostel in Kampala, and lectures are going to find me in Padel, in my house, then how is internet connection in Padel? How is it in Padel, for example? Which network gives me the best service for that particular thing? And so I think that's why now we need to see the Minister of ICT coming in to liaise with the Minister of Education, that partnership to actually see what internet are you giving to us, how affordable is it? Yes, exactly. UCC has to come in, and of course these telecoms.
So it's a multi-sectoral approach. It is a multi-sectoral to handle this issue.
Exactly, and say, just like they give us bundles to say, we're giving you bundles to play the whole night, to just listen to music the whole night, or to chat the whole night, or to do stupid things the whole night. So give us internet, call it something, call it learning internet, or studying internet, or whatever that is. Make a way that you can tailor it, that it's given to specific universities, that once you are a university student here and you receive this internet, then you can be good to go.
Well, we'll go for a break, and when we return, we'll also now look at tertiary universities reopening. But remember, they are going to study for just a month instead of where we've seen 4 months, and this has a connection with then the tuition thereafter. And also shall be looking at vaccination later on, where some universities chose to turn back students, lecturers, and supporting staff who were not vaccinated. Let's return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Grow together with one of Uganda's largest companies. Apply for MTN shares for as low as 100,000 Uganda shillings. And when you apply using MTN Mobile Money, you get 10 free extra shares for every 100 shares you apply for. Dial *165*65# or use the MyMTN app to apply now. The terms and conditions of the offer and other important information are set out in the prospectus. For assistance, visit any MTN service center or Stanbic Bank branch countrywide or a licensed broker.
Welcome to the home of our stars. Come on in. We have our movies, gossip, reality, conflict, tulinane comedy. Basirebu baffe bonna live right here, because no matter where you go, this is the home of our stars.
This year, as Power Magic Mix 3, we are delighted to invite you to see, experience and celebrate with us. Power Magic, the home of our stars. Multi-Choice Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You're still watching, that is Good Morning Uganda Extra, and I'm with my colleague Jagenda Semakula trying to analyze that is the reopening of universities and tertiary institutions at such a time. Yes, there's been craving to ensure that our academic institutions are open for various reasons. Away from learning, they contribute greatly to this economy. We have about 28,000 private academic institutions in this country, and also government has its role, and they employ over 60,000 people. Now, when you look at all this, there's a trickle-down effect if one sector is closed, because the money a teacher gets will benefit a person selling tomatoes in the market. The transport sector, we've seen school vans, we've seen, there is so much there, and that is why we're craving. But the biggest question now happens to be how safe it is. And this brings me to the element of vaccination. When we began vaccination in this country, one of the areas we were looking at were the teachers, the non-teaching staff, and the students above 18 years. When we look at the teachers that have received at least one jab, they're about, we've reached about 63%. Those that have received the second jab, or both jabs that are safe to go, are at 32%. This in one way or the other, because the first jab is important, but it doesn't give you full immunity towards COVID-19. At least you need, after getting the first jab, then different vaccines have different periods where you should go back and get a second one. Jagenda, yesterday some universities and tertiary institutions chose to turn back students that did not have their vaccination cards. So it was, as they're checking you for returning your vaccination card. Some politicians have come out to criticize. We've seen even when the Deputy Speaker said, well, if you're a member of Parliament, you're a support staff of Parliament, work in Parliament, and you're not vaccinated, we are going to deny you access. NUP spokesperson Joe Senyonyi, yesterday at their head offices during a weekly press briefing, was very clear. He said, first, there is no law to defend this. It's an illegality. Second, for them, they feel that vaccines are not around. I don't believe that. That's what Senyonyi believes.
And now these are politicians. Senyonyi should actually find out. And you see, it just disappoints when a member of parliament actually says something that is not possibly right. The Honorable Joel Senyonyi is a member of parliament, and he sits in that house with another member of parliament called General Acheng Ochero, the Minister of Health. So they can interact at that level as colleague members of parliament. So what you do not know from maybe General Acheng Senyonyi can actually know. Too, Senyonyi has the potential and capacity to actually stand on the floor of parliament and ask the speaker to order the Minister for Health, any of them, whether Margaret Mohanga or Hanifa Kawoya or anybody, to come and explain vaccine situation in this country. So they can do that. So when you say there are no vaccines and the health is saying we have vaccines, then that is actually one of the problems that we're facing. I want to talk about it earlier on, the misinformation. We also trade misinformation. Now, there is no law to enforce this. And you see, that's where we tend to lose each and everything once we start discussing laws.
Because they're saying we should have a social instrument by the Minister of Health making this.
But these are the members of parliament who are supposed to even debate and pass the statutory instrument. And if it's just a matter of statutory instrument, then they can do it. Remember, before COVID came in here, the statutory instrument, the health, public health statutory instrument of, I think, 2020, March 20, we didn't have it. But we got it to talk about all the things, putting on masks in public and doing all the things. Now, these are actually there. These are members of parliament. The statutory instrument that we have criminalizes being in public without putting on a mask. How many of these members of parliament do put on this mask? So they want a law, but there are laws here that are actually not even effective to themselves. I think it's section 13 of that particular statutory instrument, I think 13 or 17, that criminalizes moving out of your house and getting into public without putting on a mask.
That is 13.
Exactly. But how many of these members of parliament do move out in public without having face masks on them? So they're only pushing for these things to maybe say, okay, we have a law for this, we have a law for that, we have a law here and there. But these are laws that they also enforce, rather they also put in place, but they can't enforce them. So if it's just a matter of a law, then let them pass the statutory instrument. Number two, once you start discussing the law, then you're actually saying, let's go to court. Go to court. But you remember, we are dealing with something that has got a timeline. Now, we who go to school, we go to universities, know what it means. You are supposed to be in class for at least about 15, 16 or 17 weeks for you to study for a whole semester, to be able to actually have gotten something and to also feel that there is value for your school dues that you've paid. Now, we have 1 month, and of course, sometime next month, universities will tell you we are now actually doing exams. Some universities,
after 2 weeks, they're going to be doing exams.
After 2 weeks, they're going to be doing exams. They're going to be doing exams. They're going to be doing cuts, the continuous assessment tests. They're going to be doing lots, and there's a lot of pressure piling onto them. Some are now being pushed to read harder, to just find. You'll notice that at the end of the day, somebody has actually acquired their degree or their diploma or their anything, but they've not really had enough time to read and understand what they're studying. Now, you want to bring, you're discussing, there is no law. Now, the next thing will be, one Jagana Semakola and Chiraba will say, we're going to court to sue this university for compelling us to have vaccination. Now, by the time court sits to decide and rule into your matter, what time will that be? And what will be your fate at school? Because the university says, Chirabo, do you have a vaccination card? Yes, I do have. Enter class. The lecturer, Jagana Semakura, has one. Get in class. Now, Jagana, the lecturer, has this class with the Chirabos, sitting, lecturing, teaching them. Another Semakura here is still in court, battling it out to actually get a ruling whether it is in order or legal for them to be denied access to class simply because he did not have vaccination. Now, these are all the issues that we're finding challenges with. And I think the biggest problem that this country ever got is politicians being, of course, the jacks of all trade, being the alphas and omega of anything. I was talking to somebody about that same scenario yesterday, especially that happened at Chambogo and elsewhere. And I asked him, when the president said that universities will start in November, there was a whole month of October, 31 days, and a few days of in September. But the president said, well, steadily as we're studying this thing, universities, but the condition is here. Teachers go get vaccinated. Students above 18 go get vaccinated. What were you thinking about? What were you thinking about? And said, no, we thought we were saying it to the teachers, and said, okay, now that is also how we perceive and receive and maybe decipher information. So these are the challenges that we are facing. But you see, these are universities. University will tell you, for you to come to a class, for you to do this, for example, universities have always said, you will not do an exam here if you've not paid 100% of our school fees. Yes, even if you go on the street and make noise and do all the things, those who have paid 100% will say, but we begin to tukole.
Those that have gotten their vaccination,
exactly,
will say we are ready to learn, and learning will proceed. This is one of the areas where we feel, I think, sometimes we should put politics aside and look at issues of national concern. Because, fellow Ugandans, I think this is not in any way rocket science. We've all been vaccinated at a certain point in life. When you're young, you are vaccinated polio, tuberculosis, the 6 killer diseases. Of course, now we added on a few as discoveries come out there that maybe the vaccines I got, the number of injections I got, my son would get more because of the disease that come out, and discovery. Malaria now is vaccinable. You can be vaccinated, whereas when I was young, no one knew that you could be vaccinated against malaria. So if we get that breakthrough, and maybe more of that disease that will come. So you survive those vaccines. Now what about COVID-19? I think we must understand that this vaccine helps us fight severe illness and death. So if these are situations that everyone must get vaccinated to access public places, it's going to save us the sirens, the death, and government expenditure on building temporary structures, buying oxygen, buying ventilators, paying medical staff, that this money maybe can be put to use in something else, improving our health facilities, improving our education facilities. So I think any politician worth their salt should not be against the vaccination drive, but rather be an ambassador to push forward vaccination. Here at UBIS, we encourage everybody to go and get that vaccine. The president assured us, if we want to vaccinate 4.8 million Ugandans, Uganda, as of now, we've received over 6 million vaccines. So that is far past. By December, we expect to have received about 23 million doses of vaccines as a country. So when someone talks about scarcity, I don't understand. Let's pay that cost of you going to that vaccination center. Not saying they are far, vaccination centers are far. This is a matter of life and death. I need to give it more seriousness. So I had to draw more attention onto that as we still look at opening of education institutions. Jagenda, now let's look at also the element of terrorism. We rightly know that this is a threat with us, and police on several occasions, since those bombings has come out to advise Ugandans, to advise our students now that universities are open, to be very conscious. I visited a few institutions. Some, yes, like Makerere, I saw they've tried to minimize entry points, and there's checking. Chambogo has done so. But to some, most of these tertiary, I see there is something that we need to step up in the fight against terrorism. Yes,
to just conclude, the other on the vaccines, we hypocrites. Now, the same Chirabo who says today, why do you force me to get vaccinated to come to class? If they told them, go to the American embassy and pick a visa, or go to the British High Commission and pick a visa, or go to the German embassy and pick a visa, or go to any embassy here and pick a visa to go out. And one of the requirements there is we need your vaccination card number also. Ugandans won't find it. Somebody will go to get vaccinated because they want to get a visa. Now, on one side, there is a visa for you to go to the United States of America, but on the other side, there is education for you. You are studying for yourself to get this particular qualification. So we are the same people. If members of parliament can say, don't force us to have vaccination to come to the house. But if they want to go for a benchmarking trip somewhere, and the condition is will not receive anybody who was not vaccinated, then they will go and vaccinate. And unfortunately, they will not tell you that they vaccinated, because they will do it quietly. When the president was awarding medals to members of parliament in 2016 at the Serena Conference Center, some refused to come to get them publicly, but they went and got them from the office of the chancellor. They went privately, and they received these medals, and they even received that envelope. Many of these who say, no, we can't go to receive these medals. What are they for? Just being a member of parliament. No. You've done these medals without, medals are meaningless. They went and received them. That is the biggest problem that Ugandans do have. Now, it brings me to the issue of terrorism. The president talked about it, and of course police has also come to tell us, or they've come out to tell us. Now, you notice that before the blast at Komamboga, police, all the the forces, the forces, the joint forces or whatever that is, they try to foil quite a number of these many initiatives.
Actually, according to Colonel Charles Oluka, said 47 of them.
That's what I'm saying. And I know how Oluka operates. I personally know how Colonel Oluka operates, the DG ISO. And these are things actually that they've done. But you only have to push Oluka to the wall to actually come before the camera to tell you that they've done this. Because I don't think when Colonel Charles Oluka and his team foil one bomb blast somewhere, because it's not exploded. And of course, 47 bombs that have not exploded are meaningless, as opposed to this one that explodes and possibly just kills one person. You notice that. Now, we are talking about a bomb that, for example, the bombs that we talk about have only killed one person, I think 2 people. Only 2 people. 2. Yes, the one at Komamboga and the one in the Swift bus. 2 people. Now, how do you compare those to 3,000 Ugandans who have died of COVID-19? How do you compare them to the Bahitmen? What do they call them? Yes, the Bahitmen, Abobutayimbwa. How do you compare them to the Jambia? How do you compare them to this lawlessness that keeps happening? So these are some of the things that we tend to skew the debate and get from issues, trivialize many of the things, politicize them and all the things too. But yet again, our safety is our own issue to start with. Oluka is not in these studios, for example. Oluka is not at UBC. Oluka is not here. So if UBC is waiting for Oluka to come and enforce and check what comes in, what comes where, what does what, then of course we'll have a problem. If another station somewhere, if another church somewhere, if another place somewhere waits for Oluka to actually come, they need some Oluka to come and maybe remind them and say, oh, this phone can actually be a bomb. When you look at it here, please do this or do that. So I am thinking this is to all of us. As the schools open now, as we wear masks, as we ensure that we sanitize, as we ensure that we wash our hands with water and soap, as we ensure that we do all these things, then we also need to factor in that other element of security. It happens to us when we go to supermarkets. It happens to us when we go to markets, these open markets. It happens to us when we go to churches. For example, churches, you know, many of the churches now have been putting all their guards to COVID-19, forgetting these other things. That yes, yes, exactly. And now somebody can come with a bomb vest or a vest bomb, whatever that is, and they sanitize. You check for their temperature. They have a mask on them and all the things too. Then they get in this auditorium in the church building and blow it up. So I think
finally on this,
something for all of us to think about.
2 weeks back, the organization that brings together private institutions in this country met the Education Committee of Parliament, and they said, much as we are craving for reopening, we need assistance. They had proposed that government extends a loan of 100 million per institution, payable in a period of not less than 5 years, with an interest rate of 5%. And they believe this could help them restart these education institutions, because we know now that in addition to the SOPs, they have an element also of security. Maybe some didn't have wall fences. They need to construct wall fences now to limit entry points at such a time. We've opened up, much as there is a burden on parents to foot these issues of tuition, there's also a burden on these institutions to put these in place. The financial element is something I also want us to be discussing. Some parents have already said students are reporting for only a month of studying, active studying. Then there will be, but you have to pay tuition that is equivalent to 4 months that a semester has been. So we have this financial implication on the reopening. How best can we handle it? Because if government doesn't come in, then the entire burden is going to go back to the students and their parents.
Yeah, no. To me, I think that's something that government shouldn't wish away. If private operators, teachers are saying, because these are partners in development and they're doing a very good and commendable job. Yes, I accept. I went to a government school. I studied in government schools, but I've also studied in private schools and taken children to private schools. So I know what all of them do contribute to this nation or this economy. I am only thinking we had some very good money that we put into UDB, and I just want to know what actually UDB does. So. It's incumbent upon us now, me and you, who sit here on TV to interrogate, to speak, to do all the things. to find out from those who are running UDB to tell us, because the last time I heard, we had capitalized UDB with about 100 billion Uganda shillings. So if private institutions are asking for 100 million shillings payable in 5 years, yes, to me, I say this is something that we should not even debate. It is something that we should just consider. What is the money in UDB doing? How do people access money in UDB? And I'm only thinking, is there a private school owner who has possibly tried to go to UDB and they've told them you can't get money in UDB? I don't know. What are the conditions there? What needs to be done? These are some of the things that need to come to the floor of Parliament. And Parliament also needs to tell us, because they appropriate, they plan for us, they budget for us, they should tell us there is some money in UDB. But the issue is, how do we get money from the Uganda Development Bank? How do we get this money from, I think, UDB and UDC, the Development Corporation? How do we get UDC or UDB to get some money? That is actually there. To me, I think, yes, I have seen people who have schools, people who have really tried to manage and do quite a number of things, and they're really struggling, as you, like you said. When one teacher is not getting a salary, then of course they will not go to the market, they will not use a boda, they will not get, and that market will also not get money to go to another maybe market or
and
another
the farmer,
store.
that trickle down
and the farmer, of course, yes, the effect is
a chain.
Exactly, it's a chain. So you just don't look at one Jagenda Semakola who is not getting a salary, but you look at Jagenda Semakola and say, if I don't get a salary, then I'll not go to Chirabo's butchery to get, then if Chirabo doesn't sell the meat, then he will also not go to Semakola's farm to get this cow. Then Semakola will also lose out from this farm and quite a number of things. He's feeding his farm and he has to go and buy feed somewhere. So to me, I think, yes, government should just look into the request of the school owners and see how to give them. If they can't afford 100 million, maybe there's 100 million. If they can't afford 100 million, maybe, and I think it also depends on the number of the school, the children in the school, the size of the school, and quite a number of things. All of you may not need 100 million, and some may actually even need
But
more
some
than
have also
100 million.
called for government to subsidize or remove revenue on some of the essentials they use in school. Some have talked about water, electricity, CCTV cameras, some of these that are really vital at such a time, that government should come up clearly and state that such and such either have different tariffs for education institutions at such a time. What's
Yes,
your
I
view on
think
that?
yes, and I think water has already subsidized theirs, because water in these institutions is very cheap. We're talking about a 20-liter jerry can that goes for 25 shillings, I think. Yes, for school situations. It's not the same as the domestic usage in our homes and houses. So to me, I think if National Water is charging you 25 shillings, is it 25 or 23 shillings for a 20-liter jerry can? 20 shillings. If they're charging you that, then how much subsidy should come from National Water, for example? I'm only looking at it. So to me, I think, yes, everything that we think, it should be a win-win-win. That's now the principle of smart partnership. It shouldn't be a win-lose. No, it should be win-win-win. Let the government win, let we the operators win, and let the students win. That's the way we should actually run.
Jagena, just 1 minute for us to wind up. Let me have your final remarks as we conclude this discussion that was aiming at looking at the pros, the cons, and how best we can continue with safe reopening of our academic institutions.
Vaccine hesitancy will not solve the problem. Let's go get vaccinated. Let's avoid getting to these expert opinions over this vaccine is better than this vaccine. Go and get what is available. Go and get what is at your disposal. Let's get vaccinated.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Jagenda Semakula. And of course, you, our viewer, you're the reason why we're here. There's so much we've discussed, but what is important is we need education institutions opened, but opened in a safe manner. Let's promote all efforts aimed at ensuring that the school environment is very safe. And one of the ways is perfection of the SOPs, but also ensure that you're vaccinated. Let's all drum drums with the right sound, which is vaccination. Go get that jab. Go get that jab. It will save your life. It will save our economy. The enormous billions we have to invest in looking after you. Let's not beg you to be alive, because it is your personal responsibility. Have a lovely day. God bless you. Keep it on UBC TV.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.